So the final thing with this unit is to actually go through the diagrams that are at the back of your note packet. And this is actually a coloring activity here that you see that outlines the different body cavities. And if you notice, you've got letters that are marking different things. You've got A and A, the A prime with the asterisk next to it, and you can see that up above that actually corresponds to some different terminology. The idea is that you color them in not only on the diagram, but then color code the corresponding words. So we're going to get started here with letter A, and letter A is the cranial cavity. So I'm just going to shade that in here in black. I know that's not a really great color, but I don't have that many here. Now we're not going to do A prime, which is the meninges, simply because those membranes we're going to look at in the what's the word? The nervous system, that's it. All right, and the other one then on the dorsal side is letter B, which is our spinal cavity, or vertebral cavity. And again, with letter B prime, the one next to it, we're not going to color that lining, simply because, again, that's a meningeal layer, and we will get to that at a later time. Now, with letter C, I always like to point out the mediastinum, because it actually shows up really well here. The mediastinum is this channel here that runs down the middle, where letter C is actually kind of contained. So if you remember, we described that in words before, and I said, well, it'll actually be a little bit easier to understand when we get to the diagram. Well, this is why. You can actually see that channel, and basically right where letter C is where the pericardial cavity is. So letter C, we're going to color in as the thoracic cavity, and that contains the pericardial cavity as well as the two pleural cavities. And then the lining of the pleural cavities here, C prime, is called the pleura. So we will color that a different color. And then we can do the same over here on this side. So we've got the lining, and then we've got the cavity. Okay. Now our last cavity is letter D, which is our abdominal pelvic. Here and here. And then we can color the peritoneal, or the peritoneum, which is that lining here on this one, as well as this one. Oh, and I realized I just missed some of the abdominal pelvic down there. Okay, so that is that diagram. And if we move to the next page, we have the concept map that actually shows how all of these cavities are related. So the first one here, we've got the dorsal cavity, which has two subdivisions, which are the spinal cavity and the cranial cavity. The cranial cavity houses the brain, and the spinal cavity surrounds the spinal cord. Now moving on the ventral side, we have two subdivisions, the thoracic cavity, which consists of the pericardial cavity and the pleural cavities. Remember, there are two of those. Each of the pleural cavities contains a lung, and the pericardial cavity contains the heart. Moving back up, kind of to the other side, the thoracic cavity is divided from another ventral cavity by the diaphragm, and that is the abdominal pelvic cavity. And this sometimes is also known as the peritoneal cavity, and there are two subdivisions, the abdominal cavity and the pelvic cavity. So this now completes our Unit 1 notes.